It's time to make the decision on Myles Garrett here in our Cleveland Browns realistic franchise rebuild. At the beginning of last offseason, Myles Garrett gave the Browns an ultimatum. Win or he's not coming back. At the time I said win or trade, but considering he's on the last year of his deal, it would have to be a trade deadline deal. So it's either win or move on from him. As it sits right now, we are 5-0 to begin this episode out of nowhere. One of the best teams in all of football this season. That may or may not continue, but I feel like a 5-0 start is obviously very good, and I think it's enough to open the door for us to re-sign Myles Garrett. I believe a 5-0 start, him playing so well, the offense doing so well, would open up his willingness to re-sign. The question is whether or not we do it. I think there are obvious pros to retaining a player the caliber of Myles Garrett. 97 overall, insane player. He had his abilities redone when I moved him to left end for scheme fit, so we're gonna have to redo those. I know for a fact he has like edge threat. I know for a fact he had the bull rush one. We can do that one. I don't know if that's really. Let's do under pressure. I don't think these were exactly his ratings, but we'll have these be his superstar abilities here. I know for the most part this is what he had, but especially El Toro and edge threat. But with Myles Garrett, you have an absolutely elite edge rusher. Power moves, finesse moves, block shedding, athleticism. He has it all. In real life, I think Myles Garrett's my favorite non-Eagles defensive player in all of football. I love the guy. I have obvious reasons to want to keep him. But on the other side of the story, in order for us to experience this success that we've experienced this year, we had to give away a lot of picks, including our first rounder 2 years from now and our third rounder that year, as well as our second rounder next year, and I believe our fourth. I can't remember. I did so many iterations of that trade, but I know that those three picks, at least the second next year and the first and third 2 years from now, are all gone. We could recoup a lot of that value with the Myles Garrett trade, who is now 30 years old. And with the signing of Odafe Owe in the offseason, that puts our edge position in a good spot between Gibson and Owe. Losing Myles Garrett wouldn't put us in a spot where we had a weak edge group by any means. Ultimately, I think the pros far outweigh the cons for trying to retain Myles Garrett in this scenario. He wants a lot of money. He's just gonna get that from us. He has significant enough interest to resign. I'm even gonna bump it up a little bit here. 2 years, $73 million for a Myles Garrett extension. I believe he'll take this. And we have our best player returning for 2 additional years. That's obviously a massive get. We're going to lose another great defender in Grant Delpit this season. So now I think the biggest decision on this re-sign screen becomes, do we trade Grant Delpit to not lose him for nothing, or would we rather have the defense stay intact this year? We're off to a really hot start, and you don't want to lose somebody that could be a difference maker in a season that we are very likely headed to the postseason. But if we don't trade him, we're going to lose him. So that's a tough decision to keep or to trade. I think the Myles Garrett one was a lot easier, even though it is tempting to recoup some of the value that we got. I do like DeJuan Jones here to return and be kind of that swing tackle. We'll offer him a 2-year deal. about $3 million a year to be that backup tackle for us. I think I'm willing to pay that with the team now flush with cash with the releasing of Deshaun Watson. That's probably it for now in terms of re-signs. Alongside that massive Myles Garrett extension, we've got some more big-time developments here ahead of this division game against the Baltimore Ravens. We've got a potential for our running back to break out. Ernie had a strong game last week. He's had a strong season. How confident are you that he'll be able to do it again? You're obviously going to be confident in your players. We are hopeful that he can repeat that performance. He's making us more and more confident each week. That's a good answer here from Kevin Stefanski. He keeps playing like he's been, and we hope that I didn't even have time to read all that. Get 125 plus rushing yards. No easy feats. We get a development increase for running back Ernie McFerrin. I know I keep saying I hate these scenarios and I don't want to do that, but man, I just can't help it sometimes. What if it ends up being really good? The mystery box, I just can't help but open it. We've got a team meeting room here ahead of this Week 6 divisional game. Let's talk about the Ravens. What did you see during film study? They struggle with pass blocking. All right, Myles Garrett obviously going to be ecstatic about that. The left guard sucks at pass protection for the Ravens. I love it, talking some smack. How should we attack that? Blitz the guard and overwhelm him. I like this. See, this one's nice, getting some specific goals against. Okay, we're going to go giving up 3 sacks in the game. We'll go 2. So we've got some pressure on our interior defensive lineman to create some havoc. Maybe we even have Myles Garrett play on the inside a little bit in this game to try to match him up against the left guard. We've got another one, though. There's not just one scenario for a team meeting. Later on in this same team meeting, still talking about the Ravens, of course. So we have 2 division scenarios. I like this. They're not all bad, I guess. Is it going to be the same thing? We can run on their defense. This will synergize well with the Ernie McFerrin goal. Any player that we're going to target? Both defensive tackles. Okay. I love it. How should we attack it? Run inside zone, baby. Obviously, run right at them. How are we going to measure success here? Well, we already have a 125-yard run goal, so let's just double up on it. We get you the ball and let you run wild. I love the confidence. Breakout scenario. We've got 2 scenarios hinging on 125-yard performance from Ernie McFerrin. I think that makes it a pretty big game. We might spend a bit more time than we usually do on this Browns-Ravens Week 6 matchup. 5-0 versus 3-2. If you look at the division, the Bengals are also 5-0, but a win here against Baltimore puts them just a half game behind us in the division standing. So this is a big division game here in the middle of this season. So let's take it on, perhaps the biggest challenge here of the early season on our undefeated streak. Yes, the Ravens are 3-2, but we are very familiar with this team and just how dangerous they can be. We are in their territory for this game, adding to the difficulty, of course, Lamar Jackson. Nobody tougher in the league to contain than him. Let's see what we can do here. We'll pick things up here on a 2nd and 6 in the defensive line. Getting after it. TFL, Owe, and Gibson combine. 3rd and 7. Jackson has a man past the sticks. Zay Flowers gets his first touch of the ball game. I'm sure the Ravens would like to get him heavily involved. Another 3rd down here. This time it's knocked away. A couple of Browns defenders in coverage, and Grant Delpit gets his hands on it. From the 33, Richardson from a clean pocket throws a strike to Matt Driver. The top 5 pick duo here connecting for a big-time gain. Richardson hit him right on the money, allowed him to create after the catch. A little bit of a weird carry there. Kind of reminded me of how Shady McCoy would carry it at times. Jerry Jeudy. Reception on the slant there for a first down. Now, through the seam, Richardson to Jeudy, and it's going to be a touchdown. Jeudy sifting through traffic, falling forward into the end zone after a beautiful throw from the rookie Richardson, just over the top of those 2 Ravens defenders. And then he splits the gap. 4 Ravens in the area, but it did not matter. What a play to get the first points on the board in this ballgame. Rashad Bateman with a reception on this next Ravens drive. 1st and 10, 7 minutes remain in the first quarter, and Gibson getting involved again for a TFL. We, of course, had the storyline to watch out for that Ravens left guard. It'll be a lot of Daniel Gibson matched up on him today, and so far, so good. JOK also getting in there for the TFL. 3rd and long. Jackson downfield, and JOK with back-to-back nice plays defensively. 3rd and long is definitely where you want this Ravens team to be. Easier said than done, but when you can do it, you have a good chance of success here. Ernie McFerrin got no touches on the first drive, and then the first one he gets here on the second one loses 3 yards. Richardson has Njoku for a first down and more. 2nd and 13, and we move the chains on it. Njoku has been a serious threat this season. 2nd and 5 now. Sidestepping in the pocket and throwing for a first down here. Richardson already went over 100 yards here in the first quarter. Richardson, tons of time, but he just couldn't make a decision. Castillo will register the sack, bringing up a very difficult 3rd and 14. Browns will go screen. Gainwell with a ton of space needs to beat a couple of Ravens defenders near the 6, but he could not do it. Just a yard short, and that'll be a punt. Lamar Jackson on the keep, but Myles Garrett setting the edge perfectly there for the loss. Now we get to the second quarter, 3rd and 7 upcoming. Jackson from the gun. Clean pocket, delivers a strike over the middle. Rashad Bateman with the reception. Lamar, back to pass again, hits into the flat. Derrick Henry breaks off a tackle and gets a nice pickup here through the air. 3rd down at midfield. Jackson back to pass once more. He's going to try to run for it, gets a block, and gets to the sideline. That's a big-time gain for Lamar Jackson on 3rd down, getting them to the 26-yard line. Play action. Lamar over the middle has a man. That's Ferkser, the tight end. The Ravens, of course, lost Mark Andrews to the Commanders this offseason. So it's a new era of tight end in Baltimore. Lamar, 1st and goal, touchdown. Using his legs, ties this game up at 7 apiece. The Ravens in the red zone are nearly impossible because of that scrambling ability of Lamar Jackson. Good coverage, but it just doesn't matter. Richardson to McFerrin, and another loss on the ground here. Not a good start for his breakout scenario. He has negative yards right now. 2nd and 12 going downfield, but Kyle Hamilton, one of the best secondary defenders in the league, able to get a hand on it there, and then the sack on 3rd down makes it a quick 3 and out for Cleveland. Solid field position here for the Ravens to start their next drive, and nice play by the defense there. I think they'll count that as a fumble. It might have come out before his knee touchdown. So a loss of 6. Kenneth Murray there on the stop. From empty on 3rd and 16, and the defense able to disrupt the screen. Lamar dirts it, and the defense comes out and gets a 3 and out of their own. McFerrin trying to bounce it outside, but the Ravens' run defense has been absolutely stellar to start this game. He has negative yardage on the day. 3rd and 6, finding Jerry Jeudy. He's been heavily involved here in the first half of this game, already over 50 yards. Richardson going downfield on 3rd and 9. David Njoku wide open. Inside the 20 to the 16-yard line, 178 yards through the air for Richardson. We've had absolutely no run game, so it's had to be all on him. We had a false start to make it 1st and 15, and then a 5-yard sack puts us behind the sticks, 2nd and 20. We're going to give the ball on 2nd and 20. Already a bad decision, particularly bad when we haven't been able to get anything at all going in the run game so far. 3rd and 22 now. Richardson deep drop, stepping up in the pocket, throwing on the run and finding Njoku. A big-time gain. Njoku already up to 94 yards on the day, but it's just short of a 1st down. The offense will stay on the field. 4th and 2. Richardson finds Njoku, but is that going to be enough? Initially, he was past the sticks, but you see the Ravens defenders celebrating, and the momentum from the catch brought him back behind the line of scrimmage, and Roquan did not touch him until he had gone back underneath the sticks. An unnecessarily kind of leaping grab there, as we almost get a safety there to start this next drive. Unfortunate turn of events there on the failed 4th and goal, but almost had the Ravens stopped. Instead, the screenplay will work for Justice Hill for a big-time gain. Down to 3 minutes left in the half. Lamar, nice pitch and catch to the tight end Pitts, not to be confused with Kyle Pitts. This is somebody the Ravens have drafted here in this series. Nice breakup there by Greg Newsome on what would have been a very nice completion for the Ravens. Pitts the tight end again over the middle. Able to get a chunk play for Baltimore. Now inside Cleveland territory. These tight ends have been very productive for the Ravens. Under a minute left in the first half. Lamar trying to scramble, but Mike Hall Jr. all over it. 2nd sack of the day for Cleveland. Lamar now on 3rd and long. Myles Garrett closing in, forced to throw it downfield, and Malik Hooker gets a hand up and bats it down. So Cleveland will force a field goal attempt, which the Ravens would hit, making it 10-7 here. McFerrin in the screen game, unable to do anything in the run game, but at least we give him a nice force-fed pass there, which will lead to this field goal attempt, a fairly deep one from Hopkins, and it is no good. So it'll be 10-7 Ravens following the missed field goal as we now head into the second half. From the gun, Richardson back to pass. Clean pocket, but nothing open downfield. He tries to create on 3rd down, but is sacked for a minimal loss. But nonetheless, nothing doing for the Browns on their first drive of the second half. There's the tight end Ferkser again. Breaking through tackles, getting to the 47. 2 tight ends on the field for Baltimore. Lamar has time, tries to scramble, but the defense was ready. Kenneth Murray coming up and making the one-on-one tackle. That'll bring up 3rd and 9. Another pass for Lamar, floating it for the corner and just not on the same page there with Deontay Johnson. Seems like very realistic. 3rd and 4 here for the Browns, and we just can't get anything going here to start the third quarter. Back-to-back 3 and outs here in the third. Baltimore, excellent field possession. They have it at the 42 as they bring a man in motion here on 1st and 10. Lamar swarms for the sack. That's 3 Browns defenders. The first one there, Daniel Gibson, who's having himself a really solid outing. 3rd and 17 now. Lamar, all day, still hasn't made a decision. Now he'll take off and run. Gibson in pursuit. And the Browns will get the stop here after a Lamar 10-yard gain on the scramble. Richardson throws a strike to Judy. He breaks off a tackle, makes another man miss, and takes it into Ravens territory. Explosive play this offense desperately needed here in the second half. Trying to give to Ernie McFerrin on 2nd down, and it's another big loss in the backfield. McFerrin been so good for us this season, but he's just had a terrible day today. That's the 6th Baltimore sack. Richardson has a ton of yards, but he's certainly had moments where he's held onto the ball too long here in this game. The offensive line hasn't been excellent either. I think you got to kind of put the blame a little bit on both of them when you have 6 sacks. We're not even through 3 quarters yet. That's a nice play in space by Daniel Gibson, who's having his best performance as a Brown in these spotlight games here in this one. Multiple TFLs, a sack, and then that play in space against Derrick Henry. 2nd and 1, heavy personnel. Ernie McFerrin tackled for another loss. This time it's 3. He still has negative total yards rushing in this game, and we are in the 4th quarter. That screen's going to be picked off by Madden. It's a pick 6. You have got to be kidding me. The screen gets blown up by the Ravens. Richardson tries to throw it anyway, and Madden makes a leaping grab. What a play by the interior defensive lineman, who's obviously a stud for the Ravens. So all of a sudden now we're down by 10. 2-score game. Need to get something going. We scored in the first quarter. And despite all the yards that Richardson's been able to get through the air, we just haven't been able to get on the scoreboard since. That's a conversion to Njoku, having another very productive day. From the 49, Richardson. He throws towards Matt Driver. He makes the catch. Down to the Baltimore 33. 2nd and 2 now. The give is to Kenny Gainwell. Nearly stopped behind the line of scrimmage, but finally a positive run play to show y'all in this game. There has not been very much of that at all. 3rd and 10. Donnie Richardson is trying to scramble to his left, and that's just not going to work. Another Baltimore sack will force a Cleveland field goal. We will hit it, so it's back to a 1-score ball game here. But now the defense needs to get a stop. They've played well today. They've only allowed 10 points in the ball game, but they allow a catch over the middle to Bateman there. Lamar in the zone, and he's going to get taken out of it with a Daniel Gibson sack, continuing his breakout performance here. Has had a relatively quiet start to his career, more than we would have hoped. Of course, started this season with injury, but he's showing us what kind of difference he can make in a ball game when he is feeling it. 3rd and 6, another conversion towards David Njoku. 356 yards on the day for Donald Richardson. McFerrin, another give and another loss. There you see it. 11 rushes, negative 9 yards. He's nearly allowing a full negative yard per attempt here as this game winds down. Matt Driver with a nice reception there in traffic. He's also had a pretty nice game. We've had a lot of receivers and tight ends having nice games. When you throw for 381 yards, that's possible. Richardson's trying his hardest. But these sacks have really burnt this offense too much today. Way too many sacks. I don't even think I can blame the pick six on him on the screen. But the sacks, they're not all on him either. I'd maybe put half of them on him. Some of them are just the offensive line. It's had an uncharacteristically bad day. We would punt rather than try to go for it here. Trying to get the ball back again, and we will. Forcing a 3-and-out by the Ravens offense. So with 1:51 remaining, can we come back and tie this game? We're going to start with the loss of 2 to David Njoku. I don't know what that play was. Maybe looked like a couple of our players were running into each other there in that concept. Richardson. Underneath, incomplete for Njoku. That'll make it 3rd and 12. Browns spreading out here. And that's going to be a completion to Njoku, but it will be short of the sticks. That's fine. You know you're in 4-down territory here. We creep towards a minute remaining. And Richardson gonna go down with another sack. And there's just no more fitting way for this game to end than yet another Baltimore sack. Castillo has been a monster in this game. Although I feel like at least 2 of his 3 sacks have just been keeping contained on the edge when Richardson's tried to scramble, and more times than not, it's not working for him. We've seen him make plays with his legs for sure, but we've also seen a lot of these sacks. I probably got to find a way to put some plays into this playbook here that are designed quarterback runs. I was planning on making a custom playbook. I haven't really done that just because of the fact that I feel like the offense has worked really well in the base Browns playbook so far this year. But this game was obviously an exception. Just 10 points on the board and a loss to Baltimore. So the undefeated season for the Cleveland Browns will come to an end, and Baltimore will even tack on a 59-yard field goal, maybe 58, just to rub it in. Justin Tucker not going through a regression in this universe by any means. I'm going to actually just hop in to make sure we don't get a cheesy interception at the end of this game. This will be maybe the only time you'll see me in this series play out a play. But in an effort to protect my rookie quarterback stats, tried to get McFerrin a couple yards, but even that play, just a 1-yard gain. And that'll be the last play of this game. A 20-10 defeat to the Baltimore Ravens. This team is very good. And just like that, from undefeated, 1 loss, and we're a half game out of 3rd place in the division. That's how competitive the AFC North is to start this year. Baltimore Ravens now 4-2. We're 5-1. Don't know yet the results of the Bengals game, but they were 5-0 heading into this week. The Steelers yet to pick up a win, are the only weak link in a very strong division so far. Really fun game. A ton of stats put on the board by Richardson. That really weird pick 6. McFerrin been so good for us, but 12 carries for -8 yards. At least we held Derrick Henry to 10 carries for 8 yards, but 13 catches for 139 yards for Njoku. Crazy stuff. Judy went over 100 yards. Matt Driver 6 for 86. I mean, when you throw for that many yards, you're getting a lot of good performances out of that. Obviously, we were going to see a bunch of Cleveland sacks here. Sacks-wise, just so many on the board in this game. Gibson, Mike Hall, getting some for us. 6 TFLs for Daniel Gibson, though, is really insane. Madubuike with that interception. JOK with 3 deflections is nice. And Kenneth Murray with a forced fumble. Well, we've got some storylines to hit the replies for. When your goal's 125, what do you get for getting a net negative? I know we were hopeful McFerrin would have a big game, but it was a little rough. Yeah, that's an understatement. He still has star development. Yep, okay. Doesn't get any XP. I know they switched it up where some players get at least XP this year, even if they... But not the case with McFerrin. He's sticking his star. So... And that's obviously fair. Should have won that game. Couldn't get enough pressure against the guard. Do we get any sort of... So it looks like if you fail these, there's no downside, at least. No morale starting to tumble here. But I wonder if there would have been an upside had we got them. I guess we'll have to wait till the next time they show up to see. The Browns would just eke out a 19-17 victory over the winless Steelers the very next week. So division games are tough. And that will improve us to 6-1 on the year. Richardson, 224, touchdown, no interceptions. We got 4 interceptions of our own. Najee Harris, a couple of touchdowns. McFerrin, 15 yards. So he has, what, a total of a net 5 yards over the last 2 weeks. Safe to say he'll no longer be the number 1 running back in all of football. At least got into the end zone this week. Jahan Dotson led us this week. Might have had an injury in the receiver room. I'm not seeing. Okay, Matt Driver did have some, but maybe a mid-game injury that wasn't too serious. Sacks-wise, much better on our front here. If you look at sacks, we got 2 for Myles Garrett. I believe that makes him double digits already. JOK with a sack. Ben Folds with a sack. Mike Hall with a sack for the Browns. And then for the interceptions, we got 2 for Denzel Ward, 1 for Myles Garrett. Oh boy. 2 sacks and a pick. And then Greg Newsome adds to his interception total for the year. Myles Garrett, 2 sacks and a pick would get him Defensive Player of the Week. Very much so deserved. Affecting the pass game in a major way. A D-lineman pick is rare, especially combined with a multiple sack performance. Well done by the newly re-signed Myles Garrett. Next week would be a tough 10-point loss to the Raiders. Puts them at 5-3, so they are respectable this season. Levi Stark, only 123 yards, but 2 touchdowns, no picks. 235 and 1 apiece for Donnie Rich. We got McFerrin really slowing down. The first 2 episodes off to a torrid start, but just not getting a lot of carries and certainly not doing a good job with them in these recent games throughout this episode, just in general. Found out that the reason Jahan Dotson is playing is due to a Tutu Atwell injury. So there's that. Nothing too serious, but he is out for a few weeks. 2 touchdown receptions for Roderick Belser. Defensively here, we got 3 TFLs for Adafe Owe. Christian Wilkins had a sack for the Raiders. As for the Browns, we had Sam Hubbard with a sack. Haven't seen much from him. And Tyree Wilson did force a fumble before Las Vegas. Tough loss, puts us at 1-2 on the episode after starting it 5-0. That'll put us here at week 9, which is the trade deadline, which I think is a good spot to end off the episode. One thing to make note of, Donnie Richardson is currently the NFL yardage leader in his rookie season. We saw Glenn Davis near the top of these rankings last year for The Giants, that was making me jealous, but having Donnie Richardson be up there makes up for it. Aiden Hutchinson is already up to 15 sacks this year, which is absolutely wild. Myles Garrett at 10, but then the next highest is 6. So, I mean, if it wasn't for Aiden Hutchinson having the year of a lifetime, Myles Garrett would be, well above the field here. Greg Newsome tied for first place in interceptions. I think Denzel Ward has 4 now, so I think that puts him at tied for 3rd place. So the corners are balling out. The pass rush is balling out. The quarterback is balling out. And that's what's got us 6-2 here. We are in 2nd place in the division since he is 6-1. Want to get a game against them in the next episode. Baltimore at 4-3. Pittsburgh still has not won a game. They are angling to have a shot at the number 1 quarterback in this draft class, which let's take our first look at this draft class now. There are 3 of the top 6 picks in this class for quarterbacks, so they will have their pick, including a 20-year-old quarterback coming out of the draft, which will be nice. In terms of what I'm looking for, I think tackle is going to be a big need. I don't think Jack Conklin is the man going forward. We've invested a lot in the offensive line already in this series, but need to do a little bit more here. There's a tackle here that I like in Robert Carrington. Need a little bit more information on these guys, but he's a really good athlete, and we only have 2 A's on him. So I don't think we'll be in position to take a guy like this. But I put a lot of offensive linemen on my board. I put some interior defensive linemen on my board, and I put a lot of safeties because we might have to replace both of our starting safeties in the draft this year. So a lot of guys kind of from round 2 to 3 and up. I will say not a lot of guys that are athletic at all, though, which is really unfortunate. The top guy, Jamil Tuck here, even his athleticism is good. It's not great, but having that A awareness is really nice. B finesse moves doesn't really mean much, but he's the top consensus safety I think that I'm interested in. These other guys that are round 1, solid. They're just not really athletic, and I do like to have speed at the safety spots. There's a guy here I like in Deontay Drayton at safety, a hit power, probably the best athlete at safety in the class. We're just still too early to really talk too much about the draft just because I don't have a high enough percentage. But once we get the percentage up, we'll talk more about the class in full. But the Steelers looking for a quarterback, and again, they will have quite a field to choose from. So with us ending off at the trade deadline, the question becomes, is there anyone that we try and get some picks for via trade? I think, there are some players that are at least intriguing to think about for this. The biggest name is Grant Delpit, who is not willing to re-sign with us, and so we're just gonna lose him. And do we decide to get something for him? Probably wouldn't be anything major. Would be a day 3 pick, but I think you could probably get a 4 just because he's still 27 years old. He's still a pretty young player. If we go and trade him to a team that he's likely to resign to, I think a 4th rounder wouldn't be crazy. Again, because he's not, I think I said 29 years old or older. Maybe he was 28. Well, he's not restricted to the house rule we set in episode 1. But yeah, I think we could probably get a 4 for Grant Delpit if we decide to trade him. So is it more valuable to keep our defense strong for this year or to get a 4th rounder for Delpit? And it kind of, the answer to that question depends on what you think the upside of this Browns team is. And if you think there's a chance we make a deep playoff run, then obviously you keep the players here to try and make that run. You don't want to make yourself worse. But if you think we're more of kind of a one and done type team in the playoffs, then maybe it's worth getting a 4th rounder. You can get good players in the 4th round. We got Arnie McFerrin, who had a rough episode today, but overall has been pretty good for us in the 4th round. Those can be valuable. I want to hear your thoughts on it. I'll be thinking about it before I record the next episode. But here to finish off this one, let's go ahead and start to upgrade the players that have a point to upgrade. Starting here with JOK. Been a really fun player to watch so far in this series. He gets a little bit of a boost to zone coverage, now up to 80 in that area, which is a really nice number for a linebacker. Away here, I think we just go power rusher. He gets +1 to both his power and his finesse, which is decent enough. Maybe not the perfect upgrade, but they can all be excellent. Let's go with, it's not scheme fit, is it? No, it's not. It's his third one, but that's not really going to help much. We will get him to a scheme fit though. So no real chance of him hitting 87 overall. So there's not really a chance we bring him back at all. Wyatt Teller, he is a scheme fit. Let's keep it that way. Power upgrade on our guy here. Ooh, that is an upgrade you really like to see. Impact and lead block both +2, run block +2. That's nice. Donnie Richardson, I think we go improviser for this one. Should help throw under pressure and throw accuracy deep. We don't get any deep, but we do get 2 under pressure. Puts him up to 80. We really need that deep accuracy. Could probably start to go strong arm, especially because that is scheme fit. But I know improviser also gives you a chance to speed upgrades, so that's why we're going that there. We'll go power here for Lance Lynn, hoping to make him a little bit more well-rounded. +2 to both his pass and run block. His base blocking grades look really good, and just need to get those run block power and finesse grades up, and he's starting to look nice. Again, athleticism is not excellent on him, and that's not really ever going to improve much. Might get a +1 or 2, but the grades looking good. Let's go with some balance here with Tony Stevenson. 2 to impact blocking is awesome. Puts him up to 90, which you absolutely love to see. For the most part, we're getting some pretty solid upgrades here. And I think the last guy we will go with a manual upgrade here will be Mike Hall. Run stopper. Can we get a strength? No, we cannot, but 2 to finesse moves is pretty solid, putting him into the 80s. 82 strength at DT, though, is just so rough. These other guys are mostly backups, so we'll upgrade them automatically. And that will end off the episode here at the trade deadline. 6-2, second in the division. I mean, look at all these NFL ranks you're seeing. Everything in the top 10. This is a high-quality football team that we have in Cleveland. Coming off the #1 pick. Oh, what a difference a year makes. We'll be back soon with more Cleveland Browns franchise. And until then, go Browns.